For those of you who've not met me before, my name is Steve. I work as an English language teaching consultant for Express Publishing. Many of you I will have met before, I hope, and I hope today's seminar will be useful to you. Just a couple of kind of housekeeping points. First of all, if you have any questions about the books in terms of where they are available, ordering costs, etc., please feel free to, hi Coimbra, please feel free to drop a line in the chat. You can do that in Portuguese. My Portuguese colleagues are with us and they will be able to answer any of those questions. Also, I have two very good colleagues hanging around in the background, both of whom are very familiar with Zoom. So if you have any technical issues, etc., you can just put those in the chat as well, and my colleagues will respond to you in written form there. So if there's any questions about that, you can put them in there, and they will be seen. Unfortunately, during the process of the seminar, I will not be able to turn on your microphones and for us to have live chat. As you can imagine, if we do that, the noise is going to be terribly difficult to manage. If you do have any questions, please put them in the chat. We're going to try and copy paste them so that we can deal with those towards the end of the seminar. So I think that's it in terms of housekeeping and organization. So far, the weather's behaving itself. Let's hope it stays that way. Oh, so many places I've been to. Sorry, it's really because not traveling is a bit of a thing for me right now. And so many places I've had the pleasure of visiting. So great to see all you guys. Now, what I wanted to do today was to introduce you, as I said, to the slightly higher levels of on-screen. Last week, we talked about the lower levels. I'm going to do that through the interactive whiteboard because that makes, in the current circumstance, in some ways the most sense for me to show you how you can take the material even at the higher levels and still manage your classroom and still manage your learners' studies. So what I'm going to do is I am going to share my screen. Now, for those of you not familiar with Zoom, this is a really useful function. It's just at the bottom of the screen here, which is why I'm looking away from you. And what you do basically is it allows you to share whatever is on your screen. So I have just clicked shared screen, and I have also clicked share computer sound. Now, what I want to, it's very important that you remember to click share computer sound. If you're running the interactive whiteboard software, this means that not only will you be able to hear me over the microphone, lucky you, but you should also be able to hear all the sound from the whiteboard as I go through the presentation. So I'm just going to share that now, and I am going to find my on-screen, and there it is. You should, at the moment at least, all be able to see the interactive whiteboard software there, and hopefully that is what you're looking at. And if there's any problem, Parry or George, if they can't see this, would you be kind enough to send me a message or let me know what is happening, okay? So this is the interactive whiteboard software for on-screen. This is the full version of the material, and this, of course, would be supplied to teachers in the teacher's pack along with the teacher's equipment. So this is a very important part. One of the reasons we wanted to show you the interactive whiteboard software is for you to understand and for us to demonstrate that even in the kind of more online environment, the distance learning environment, which at the moment tends to be the case pretty much everywhere, and who knows what will happen when the schools open in September or October later this year. The truth is nobody really knows whether we will have to go back to this style of teaching or not. The interactive whiteboard software can still be used in that environment to great effect. And that's what I wanted to demonstrate to you today. If you are using the interactive whiteboard software in the classroom, please remember you do not need a big, expensive interactive whiteboard. As we've been traveling around Portugal over the years, one of the things we've been very keen to demonstrate is that the interactive whiteboard software works straightforwardly just by projecting it on a wall and operating it by mouse. So please don't think any particular equipment, special equipment, apart from a projector, is required, okay? Also, if you have a TV in your classroom, you can always hook up the computer to the TV and show it on the TV screen as well via usually HDMI cable from your computer. You see, I've learned all these expressions over the years. Okay, the unit I wanted to focus on today is travel and holidays, simply because this time of year, it's what we're all thinking about, and I thought it might be rather fun. Just a few words about the things that you will find in the interactive whiteboard software, and many of them you can see in the icons underneath each of the particular pages. Please note that the interactive whiteboard software is not just a collection of PDFs arranged for you to just be able to show via the screen. It is far more than that. Our interactive whiteboard software for all our material is a fully integrated, fully interactive teaching tool. So please don't run away with the idea that it's just PDFs. Now, hopefully you can see my mouse as I wiggle it around the screen. You can see underneath each of the double spreads, and notice please that there is interactive whiteboard material for every single lesson. Very important to note. Note that underneath each of those double spreads, and I'll talk more about those as we go through, you will see these little icons here for video, for example, and for games. There are more that I will show you as we go through the material and I demonstrate it. So to keep things moving forward, and I'm choking again, for some reason I always choke at the start of seminars. I think it's because I don't get to speak to people enough anymore. Excuse me just one second. We'll go through page by page, and I will demonstrate the structure of the book, the contents of the book, and how it's possible for you to integrate this with other elements of the course as well. So let us start with beginning of Module 3. The beginning of Module 3, as I said, Module 3 is about travel and holidays. We have a full modular page. Now, in the lower levels of on-screen, the modular section is a little shorter. What we do when we get to these levels is to try and make sure that learners are getting as much opportunity as possible, not only to learn new vocabulary, new expressions, etc., but that we also get into kind of revision and consolidation. We're often asked when people look at a course of books, why in each level, you know, level 1, level 2, so on and so forth, we keep returning to the same themes. Well, there are two very simple answers there. Neither of them is a lack of imagination. There are many things that we could put in books and materials, but one thing, and this is very important at these levels, is that we keep our eye on exam syllabuses. So we have to cover things that come up normally in international exams, for example, the Cambridge exams, but not exclusively, okay? And this course was written very much with kind of higher level examinations in mind, and the task types, etc., are drawn from those, and I'll show you that. So one of the reasons we choose the particular themes is because these are common themes. The examiners usually release a list of themes that they will cover in the exams, and what we do here is make sure that we have covered all those themes. And the year on year, so maybe travel and holidays has come up in previous years, and in fact it has, is that it gives learners an opportunity to revisit vocabulary and concepts that they've come across in previous years. So what you will find in the modular page, it's an opportunity for learners to bring in what they already know and for us to start connecting it with expanded vocabulary, more advanced level language, etc. So just to give you an idea there, of what's going on and to show you how to navigate the software if you're not familiar with it. Wherever you see an orange circle, you're going to have an interactive activity of some sort. So for example, if I click on this is purely for demonstration purposes to have it on the screen so that everyone can see it. It's not an activity in and of itself. It tells learners what we're going to be looking at in the module. And what you can do here is use this very quickly if you like to test the water, to see where your learners are, to see what they've remembered, to see if there are things they're confused about. So for example, it says vocabulary, types of holiday. So at that point, it would be a logical thing to say to our learners, okay, what types of holiday can we remember, can we think of, have you gone on? Obviously all in English, yeah? So maybe adventure holiday, camping holiday, hiking holiday, although that's more like, you know, a form of torture. Island holiday, Caribbean holiday, Portuguese holiday, all of these things are possible there. And the same thing with means of transport, hotel facilities, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you can check around in things like the vocabulary. If you're looking at any of the other areas, you can very quickly discuss. So it says speaking, just caught my eye. Speaking, express dissatisfaction, sympathy, surprise, disbelief. In what situations might you use that language? You're not going to go into more depth than that. Just elicit, you know, a surprise. Oh, you get a present, or it's your birthday and everybody comes and gives you a surprise party or something like this. Dissatisfaction, when would you be dissatisfied? When would you express that? Maybe if you take something back to a shop with a complaint. Maybe if you're a parent and your kids' grades aren't up to scale. All of these things, just generally bouncing ideas around. I stress, not important to go into detail at this moment. What you'd be doing is just messing around with ideas and concepts. And then we go into working on vocabulary. This would be, just to orientate you, this is the next exercise there, where we do discuss some types of holiday, maybe slightly newer ones, ones that they've only covered once, ones that are important to the module, okay? So there's a reason for these. In terms of the interactive whiteboard software, what you will see wherever there is listening are these little headphones. So whenever you press them, he said, hopefully.
Skiing holiday.
You should have heard that because I...
Activity holiday.
Okay, and this can be used for pronunciation purposes, for practice there, etc. So the modular page, very much an opportunity to just get the ball rolling. Now you will see here that there is a video icon. Let me just whiz through until we find it. There it is. Video, lots of video in the series. The video is used to contextualize language. It's used to provide a break, to provide variety from just listening and speaking. It's used for all sorts of purposes. I am going to play just a little bit of the video here. Sorry, my phone. No, it's not my guys, because I'm getting things coming in. And I have my phone on only in case my colleagues need to contact me regarding the webinar. I'm not chatting while I'm here. Okay, so let me play the video just a little bit.
Dream holidays. Choosing a holiday may be more challenging than you thought. Here are some ideas to help you choose your dream holiday.
Okay, before we all start getting terribly jealous about dream holidays, especially this year, let me just show you a few of the features of the video while I'm here so I don't have to show you them later on. When you are using video, there are questions, for example, that you can ask as a result of this. So if you want to work on the structure, the expressions of vocabulary, etc., that is possible. I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to show you how these icons, etc., work just a little bit later. There's also a think section where you can ask your learners to discuss, to debate what kind of holiday they'd like to go on, what kind of things they like to do, using the video as a springboard into that conversation. So even though this is the modular page, excuse me, what I wanted to point out was that even though it is the modular page, you are still going to have a lot of useful language produced, a lot of contextualized language, and focusing your learners on the subject, okay? So please don't think just because it's not like the first lesson that the modular page isn't important. It can set up a lot of very useful groundwork. Okay, so sorry, I went one step too far. Now, the structure of the book is really quite straightforward. It's color-coded, it's laid out. The first section we're going to go into in just a second is the reading section. We have work on vocabulary, grammar, listening, speaking, and writing going on here as well. So let us have a look at how we handle the reading. Now, because what I want to do in this particular part is obviously show you a little bit about how we work on reading comprehension. That's very important. But also certain aspects of the interactive whiteboard software will come up as well. This will take just a little bit longer than the other sections, because then I'll just be able to say, notice this, we looked at this before, okay? So I'm going to try and get as many explanations as I can out of the way here. So we are going to start reading. Now, whenever we do reading, we always have some kind of lead-in activity. This one is quite a nice one. One of the reasons I wanted to demonstrate it to you is because here we're getting an introduction to the text, which is actually not based on, not so much based on reading or words. So for example, it says, look at the picture and listen to the sounds. How do you think you would feel if you're in this place? And just play it. Okay, I would feel a little worried because I booked a holiday to Lisbon, but never mind that now. To let you into a little kind of teacher's secret, at the end of the unit, in the writing section, learners are going to be doing some writing which involves a lot of description. So one of the things we're doing as we work through the module, and I wanted to tell you this now so it makes more sense at the end. One of the things we do as we work through the module is to help prepare learners for everything, but also for the writing that's coming up at the end. So here, we're trying to get learners to get into a little more descriptive language, a little more feeling language, than just find the word, find the expression, because this is going to feed in, this way of thinking is going to feed in finally to the writing towards the end. So you can see, you can play that from the interactive whiteboard software. If your learners are at home watching by computer, they can hear that. And then they can respond to you through the platform or however it is you wish to do it. Notice, please, how I'm navigating through. I'm just using these arrows at the bottom. It's simply just click and do whatever you want. Now, all of these exercises are in the student's book. And this is one of those where you might want to give learners just a few minutes to work on their own and do the activity in their book. Or you could do it and just have them shout out, or however it is they contact with you. Whenever we have activities like this, there are always going to be different ways of marking. You could, for example, ask students to call out and drag and drop. Obviously, if they get it wrong, let me just choose the wrong answer here. It's autocorrect, so it's not going to work. If you're in a little bit more of a hurry, you can just click on them one by one. There we go. This little circle arrow thing at the bottom resets the whole activity. And if you're in a really big hurry, of course, you can simply have all the answers come up. In all cases, pronunciation.
Thunder. Thunder.
Okay.
Plunge into.
Alrighty. And also you have definitions of the words if you need them. You can just click on them. It's a kind of picture dictionary kind of thing. Please notice that the words are only described in context. That's all it is, contextualized vocabulary. There may be, not maybe so much in this case, but there may be sometimes where words have other definitions. We're familiar with that, but they're described in context for the purposes of doing a particular activity. Okay, now I'm going to skip through. Our learners, come back, there we go. Our learners are then asked to do reading comprehension. Now, this is where they work on their own. There are options as to how you can do this, which do include the digibook, but please bear with me. I'll talk about that just a little bit later on, and I'll show you that in another kind of activity, how we can marry the two together. But for now, learners are going to quickly look at the text. Sorry, they're going to guess about the text. And here, there's no right or wrong because they're just guessing what they think may be the case. And then they go on to actually read the text, listen to the text, and check their guesses. I'm not going to make you do the listening now, but you can see the listening dashboard is down there. We can check the answers there. Okay, going on, there we go. And once we have checked the answers, we can correct the false answers in this particular case. Now, this is what I wanted to show you here as well. Whenever we're working with text and answers come from text, if you click on the little question mark sign, it shows you exactly where the answer comes from. Now, this is the same if we're working on multiple choice or anything like that as well. Whenever we're working with text, and it's important that learners know where the answer is to be found, and this works at all levels, you can just click on that. And this is even more useful when you are working at a distance and learners are working from home, because quite simply, it's very, very difficult via a platform to show learners the answers. It mentions in a couple of cases, it mentions the word list. The word list is to be found here. You have newer vocabulary marked there. In all cases, pronunciation.
Plunge into.
And in all cases, definitions as well. Okay, so if you need at any point to go back and look at the definitions in English, or you want them to hear the pronunciation, the word list is there for you. Alrighty, so we're moving on with the listening, and Steve is checking his notes. Now, wherever you have checked these words, these are words that are found. The check the word section is in the student's book near the text. This again has its own
Stumble upon.
Dictionary definitions ready for you.
Witness.
Where appropriate with pictures.
Exploration.
Cartoons, it just depends on what we're doing. So what you've got going on here is a lot of work is taken off your shoulders, because basically instead of you guys having to look up the words or expressions and writing your own definitions, they are already included in the software. And again,
Witness.
It's very easy for that to be demonstrated when you are working in the classroom, in a virtual classroom, I'm sorry, with your students. Again, you can see here all the answer keys as I've shown you before. Okay, there we go. And again, flicking back to the text as and when necessary. Okay, you will find that this is another, I'm not going to go through all the questions, guys, because we'll be here forever and you will be virtually beating me up. Another area where there's video, this is a different video. This time, this one is about
Victoria Falls. Victoria Falls is the largest waterfall in the world. One of the
Okay, and again, you have questions and a think question, as I showed you with the modular page. The video comes kind of towards the end of the module because again, it's for the lesson, excuse me, because what it's trying to do here is just again to get learners to consolidate the language they've used. So we've listened, we've read, we've approached the text looking for detail, we've thought about it more holistically. Now we're taking the same concepts from the text, we're seeing them in video. This means that we should be able to understand the video and be able to discuss the video as well. So I'm going to zoom on. I don't want to tell you anything about exercise 6 and exercise 7. Following the reading text, there is just usually just a little bit of vocabulary work because the majority of vocabulary work is going to come up in the next lesson. So here we've just taken some words from the text And here they're looking at them in terms of synonyms, antonyms, definitions, etc. By the way, this is the kind of exercise that could equally be given for homework if you don't have enough time to go through it in the lesson. Okay. And what it's doing there is beginning to expand our learners' lexical awareness. So we're thinking of synonyms, words which have similar meanings. Antonyms, is it direct antonym? Is it always an antonym? Thinking of definitions, etc. All that work is there, okay? So that is just to give you the orientation of that page again. We've been through all of those activities, except this one, my apologies, there it is. At the end, there are always a couple of activities which are summary activities. So here you have write a summary of the short text and a transfer activity. In this case, it's imagining you're visiting the falls. Remember what I said before about preparing for the writing at the end of the module? Here again, you're asking learners to describe an experience, to use words, not just to physically describe, but also words for feelings, emotions that are created by that particular situation. And those two ideas are down here at the bottom of the page. Okay, getting back into the structure of the book, we are now going into vocabulary. I'm not going to spend hours on this because a lot of the functions you've already seen, but I do want to just take you through a little bit about what you would find in the vocabulary section, because there's a slight difference here from the lower levels of on screen. Here, for example, you can see in the brown, I call it brown, it could be beige, I don't know. In the brown section, you have vocabulary that is directly related to the text that we've just read. Okay, so these are words that came up in the text. And again, I'll be honest with you, good candidates for homework. If you feel that that would be appropriate, you can get your learners to do that at home, because all of those words are found contextualized within the text. And it really just is, again, thinking about things like synonyms, etc. And the next one there is looking at the correct form of the words, but they can go back to the text and look and see whether, what derivatives are used, etc. there. The remaining vocabulary in the white section of the book is vocabulary that is connected to the theme, but not connected directly to the text. So we're still thinking about holidays, about transport, getting around, visiting places, etc. But now we've moved away from the Victoria Falls text, and we are expanding their vocabulary on this particular theme. I'm not going to go through every single exercise, guys, because it'll just make you dizzy. But just you can see that we also use things like listening, so pronunciation is coming in. There are things like connected ideas and concepts, so we're getting into collocational ideas. We look at things down the bottom here. We've got word formation, looking at derivatives, etc. We have phrasal verbs over here, selecting the right word here. So there we're looking at the meaning of words, etc. This changes from module to module slightly, the type of activity, but you will always find a variety, including, if you'll notice, I'm not going to show you now, there are 3 videos there on the vocabulary page. I've already shown you a video, but I just want you to know and notice that they are there as well, even for vocabulary. And we also have a quick game. Now, when you want to play the game, you can see this new icon down the bottom of the page. When we click on game, it's a Palmanism. I think that's the correct term for it. And it's very simple. Team A, Team B. Oh dear. Click to match. That didn't work very well, did it? Oh, there we go. It's my lucky day today. I'm not going to play anymore because that's not going to happen again in a hurry. Okay, so you've got very simple kind of retro kind of games that are optional. You can play them or not. The actual activity is here. And you can see that the actual activity also includes the icons that were used in the game and the vocabulary that was included in the game as well. We have a text here. I wanted to show you this. This is our text about a hotel. It's a kind of advertising text about the hotel. The accompanying video, which I'm not going to play, but I'll just leave it frozen there. The accompanying video is not actually that text. It's a very similar advertisement for a hotel, for where people go on to encourage people to come on holiday, but it's not exactly the same as the text. So there will be a little more incidental language coming in. There will be words and phrases that they recognize, but it gives them the opportunity to approach this kind of text from an analytical and from a more holistic kind of point of view as well. So it's not exactly the same text, quite deliberately, I should add. So let's get out of the video. You see how I'm navigating. It's very, very simple, very straightforward. I don't think there is anything else there that I wanted to show. Sorry, I'm just going to zoom into the chat for a second. It's not coming up, so that's fine. Okay, so that is the vocabulary. The next lesson is grammar in use. Yay! Grammar in use. Now, at these levels, we're coming up, this level B2, obviously we're coming up to exam levels, we've got B2 plus, etc. going on. Here, most of what we're doing is really just revision and practice. So you will see that there are quite a few exercises, apart from the introductory box at the top of the page. And notice there it says past simple, past continuous, past perfect continuous. Very important to note that these tenses are not being introduced for the first time. This is not, where they learn these tenses. Of course, past simple, past continuous, and all those other tenses, they have discussed at much lower levels. What we're looking at here is revision. We're looking at comparison, the different uses, refreshing their memory on how to construct the tenses, etc. So you will not find massive, lengthy discussions on theory. This is merely an opportunity to refresh their memories. Something I say a lot, by these levels, learners have already covered pretty much all the grammar they will ever need. So what we're looking at here is thinking, got one eye, if you like, on exams, just getting them into preparing them, etc. Dealing with any issues that are still confusing, dealing with any issues that they may not be sure about, okay? So you can see there are basic normal grammar activities. Many of them are drawn from examinations, not all of them, but many of them are drawn from the type of thing you're likely to find in an exam. Remembering a lot of exams these days are pulling back from explicit grammatical analysis in the examination itself. They look much more on the receptive skills, the productive skills, the understanding and intuiting from text. So you have that, you'll notice not too much. And again, if you wish, that could equally be done from homework, but please remember, if you want to get it done quickly in class, you can do some of these interactively as well. So you can kind of shout out, use these adverbs to make sentences about yourself. 2 weeks ago, get some of your learners to shout out however they do it, however they contact you, and just give you some examples. You will always find suggested answers, but these are not the only ones. The other thing I wanted to show you here, because you haven't seen them yet, are these two icons down at the bottom. Wherever there is grammar, you have very, very quick reference to the grammar reference section. There you go there, okay? And if you need to, put up a grammar table or read them some grammar there, you also have what we call grammar flashcards. You can put those on the screen. They come with examples. They come with recordings.
The weather was very good, so they went sailing last weekend.
The recordings are actually very useful, not just for pronunciation, but for issues like intonation and stress as you go through, okay? So you've got a number of resources there to help you review the grammar, to explain it, to iron out any problems that may be happening there. Okay, that is all I wanted to say about grammar. It's far too much anyway. The next two, not a big fan of grammar. The next two lessons are based on listening and speaking. And really, just a couple of things I wanted to point out here. Obviously, in listening and in speaking, we are ultimately going to be looking at exam-style tasks. Each of the kind of the focus of listening in the book is based on an exam-style question. But listening is also a skill to be developed, not just practiced, okay? So you will find that you have things like revision of associated vocabulary, getting learners to guess what kind of words they might need, building up their lexical awareness, their awareness of similar words, how the words sound. Obviously, you will find that there is an exam style question that's there as well. You see it here. And importantly as well, in the listening section, we also have work on pronunciation. Pronunciation is important in listening because learners need to be able to identify different sounds, etc. Okay, so things like not just individual sounds, but also stress, intonation. Is it a question? Is it an exclamation? What's the voice sound like? Is it angry? All of these things that will give our learners clues to what is going on in a listening activity. Now, at this point, let me go back. What I'd like to do is I'm going to very quickly demonstrate here how we can jump between things like the interactive whiteboard software and the digibooks. Okay, so just have this activity in mind here. This is simply a one where they have to associate these different phrases and say which ones they can find in the pictures. It's not that many. It's basically those two. Okay, now if you wish it to be the case, your learners can do these activities not in their school books, not in their paper books, but also in their digibooks. Now, I'm going to have to pause shared screen. Okay, and so I am now pausing shared screen and I am selecting a different screen for you to see. And now I am resuming my screen share and I'm getting rid of the chat. Okay, now I am in the student's digibook version of on-screen B2. And if I'm in now the content section, and if I go to listening skills, we are okay. Could everybody confirm for me, if you could? I'm presuming that you can see that now. If there's any problem, George or Parry, send me a message, please, just to make sure, because I can see it. Okay, suddenly the chat's going off. That's always a bad sign. But I can't see the chat at the moment. Just give me 1 second. The chat will come up. Yes, you can see it. Thanks very much, guys, for confirming that for me. I have a little bit of an issue with that because we had a problem with it last week. So I am now here in the digibooks, and you can see the same activity. So if you want to save time, for example, if learners are using their digibooks, then they can very simply follow you on screen, and then they can go to their digibook, and then they can, I'm just going to do this activity very quickly. Now I'm going to get one wrong, passport out of date, God forbid. The great thing about the digibooks is they can actually check their own answers, and you can see one of them is wrong there. So I'm going to try again, and this time I'm going to try and get it right. And if I remember correctly, it's the one about missing the flight, which is the only one I can't seem to find there anyway. Okay, anyway, I'm just going to get it wrong again and have done with it. So I'm going to click on there and click on there. Okay. Alrighty. First line at the end. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not wearing my glasses. So I'll check. But what the important thing there is that those results have now been sent back to the teacher. And again, if you'll give me just 1 second, I'm going to pause the share. And I'm going to go to the teacher's version of the material, which I already have set up. There we go. I am resharing it. If I go to the teacher section, and if I'm lucky, and if the gods of the internet have been working, if I go to progress, and I go to my level grade 10, I happen to know that, and I also want to know that it is, come on, sorry, my internet seems to be running a little slowly. On screen to view students book, that should now, there we go. This is the activity I just did. If you can see it there at the bottom of the screen. 2 attempts, never got it right because I'm not wearing my glasses and I really can't read things very clearly. And you can see that that score is automatically transferred to you. So what you can do in the classroom, in any of those questions, in anything that's related to the digibooks, you can simply say, okay, do this in your digibooks. You can sit with your browser open and you will actually be able to see that all your students have done the activity and the score. So this is kind of a way of using the digibooks live in the classroom, if you like. If you prefer to do it in the student's book and have them shout out answers, that's equally cool as well. But this is a great way on certain exercises, if you want, maybe to give them a little time, maybe reading comprehension, etc., for them to actually do them through the digibooks. And you will get live, immediate updates as long as everyone's online. I have to stress that. As long as everyone's online, you will get immediate feedback. You saw that was the activity we just did. There is my score. And if I click on it there, I can see that how many attempts it took. Also here, should be here. Just trying something else here. We go, no. Did it? Forget, no, so I'm in the wrong place. Never mind. We are going to go back because we don't have time to show everything there. And I want to show you a little bit more about the digibooks later on. So I'm going to go back to my on-screen, which is there. And I'm going to start sharing again. There we go. Okay, so you can always jump backwards and forwards between the two. I'll very briefly show you in a few minutes how to set homework from the digibooks, very briefly in the last few minutes. Okay, so listening is there, and the same idea goes for speaking as well. That when we're doing the speaking activities at the end of the page here, exercises 4 and 5, are really closing in on the actual speaking activity from the exam. Exercise 4 is a kind of written version of it. Exercise 5 is describing a picture as a common exam technique. Notice whenever we do those, we do have a suggested answer that's always available to you. Not the only answer, but the kind of thing, you know, maybe there are some words or phrases they could have used that they didn't think about, which is also recorded. But the important thing about the whole of that page is that, again, you're not just looking at practice, you're looking at building skills. So you're looking at things like situational language, we're looking at even things into like social linguistics and pragmatics coming in, giving them expressions that they can use. They don't have to use all of them, but building up expressions that can be used in certain contexts. Notice, please, that in each case, the context is given. Responding with sympathy, expressing strike. So have a chat, and remember this was in the modular page as well. When do we express sympathy? When someone's failed an exam, or God forbid somebody dies, or I don't know, someone broke their leg, or something like this. Okay, so you've got all of these situations in which they might use these expressions. Again, they're recorded. Pronunciation, intonation, and stress is available to you. So all of that text is working towards building skills that they can use in that final session, okay? My voice is very out of practice, do excuse me. And now the final thing here, before we move into the electronic components to finish off with, we have the writing section. Notice it's double spread writing here at these levels, because again, it's not just about testing the writing, it's about building the skills. So you will find, very importantly, in all our writing, a model. And this is describing a place you visited on holiday. And you can see now what I kept saying about everything building into the writing. The listening, the speaking, even all of those things are all thematically connected. And anything we do in those lessons can also come up in this last lesson as well in terms of the writing. So just to orientate you again, because when I show the activities singly, it can be a little disorientating. Here you have, again, a model. This model is explored in great depth. So we isolate various parts of the text. Here looking at synonyms for adjectives. So we're increasing our use of adjectives, working on the model. Again, lots of adjectives and adverbs in this particular one. Yep, adverbs there as well. Getting learners used to using more interesting adjectives and adverbs, more personalized, more evocative language, which is always a big problem in writing at these levels for exams. So you've got modifiers there, so you don't have to, so your learners can have a wider range of those available to them. They can be more precise in their language. And now we get into planning the activities. So here we've got a brainstorming activity for learners just to kind of start shaping their works. Please remember, writing starts with ideas, and then we put the structure on the ideas. It doesn't work the other way around. So we're starting with generating ideas, things we want to talk about, and those will then be shaped into a structure which makes it clear for them. I'm sorry, I see someone has raised a hand, but it's very, very difficult for me, guys, to get to that. If you do have a question, please type it in the box. I'm going to be done speaking. There should be about at least 5 minutes, hopefully more at the end, for me to look at those questions. Please forgive me. We have, if you need it, sample compositions again to be explored. Also useful language and writing tips there as well, if you wish to go through those with your learner. And a very important part for me is the checklist that they have at the end there. Okay, so that's the major structure of the book. There's a whole bunch of other things going on, which it takes forever to look at, but there are games and quizzes, videos and documentaries just to show you, to 3. I'm not going to play them all, but these are all the videos just for Module 3. Not for the whole book, just for Module 3, the one we've been looking at. Okay, and you can see they're all about a whole bunch of different aspects of traveling. So the course is very well supported by things like videos. Sorry, those are the same ones. I'm clicking away there. Videos, documentaries, all of those are there. Quizzes, language focus, blah, blah, blah. Yep. I'm going to go out of this now and just very briefly, I wanted to show you just a couple of the other online things that we have. So I have paused sharing my screen, and I'm going to drop out of the whiteboard. And I am now going to take you, just for those of you who haven't seen, hopefully my share is there. If you wish to send homework from the DigiBooks, you can set the DigiBook account, your school sets up the DigiBook account, and then once you have that and you have activated your book, which is a procedure I'm not going to talk about now, guys. If you want to know more about the DigiBooks, if you're not familiar with it, please contact our friends at Leirilivro, and they will be able to guide you through. They have lots of manuals, etc., to help guide you through the whole setup procedure, etc. Now I'm going into on-screen B2. Here we go. And again, I'm just going to go to the contents page, and I'm going to do something from, I don't know, the grammar. I'm going to give them some grammar for homework because they were really bad during the lesson, okay? Actually, I think I'm in the wrong version of the book, but never mind. And what you can do then is simply, what am I doing here? I'm going to try, when you want to give homework, you simply go into the book. Let's do this one, and then assign activity to class, blah, blah, blah. It's grade 10. It should be grade 10. There we go. Grade 10 grammar, why not? Sorry, there's a slight lag right now on my internet, which is not helping me. I'm very sorry about that. It's nothing to do with you. It's probably everything to do with the storm. I'm going to take it into the 1st of June, and I want it back and done by 2 o'clock, whenever that is. And then you click assign. And what will happen then is that homework will then be sent to the students, and they will have it in their version of the book. Let me just pause that. I'm going to go to the students' version. Just check on something here. Yeah. Okay, let me just start sharing my screen again. When the student goes to their account, this is the student account now, they go to assignments, they will see that homework is now there. You can see that's the one I just assigned. They can click on the link. It'll take them directly to the activity. And as with the activity I showed you with the listening, this will also mean that they are able then, again, I apologize for the slight lag. This is, I'm afraid, I'm a little worried about the internet with the stormy weather we've been having. There we go. Then there's the activity. They can do that. And as with the other activity, the score is sent directly back to you. Okay, so that is that. The last thing I wanted to share with you from here, and then we'll have a look at some questions, etc. Going back to my teacher account. So just bear with me 1 second. By the way, you wouldn't have to do all this jumping around. You would only have 1 account. Your students have 1 account. Okay, as I said, we'll do questions in like 2 minutes. I just wanted to let you know of another book that's available in digibook format as well. And then we'll have 5 minutes to discuss. I just want to go here. When I practiced this earlier today, I did not have quite this much of a lag with the internet. Please notice that we also have available in digibook format, in physical format. And please remember, these days, you can also order through Leirilivro either physical books or digibook codes. We also have practice tests for the various exams. This one is for the FCE. And as you can see, it's practice tests that follow the structure of the examination using the exam task types. It works in exactly the same way as the other digibook thing I showed you. They put in their answers, they check, they can try again until they get it right, and the score goes to you. So the FCE practice test we have for schools, and we have the other one, depending on where you're working and who your students are. You have a full practice test book available online. I'll be honest with you guys, this saves a huge amount of time, because what you can do now as part of homework is give them a section of the practice tests to do, and essentially you don't have to mark it, because when your learners go through the activity, they eventually should get it right, because they can keep trying until they get it right. This means that before, if you've assigned it for homework, as I've just shown you, and you give them a deadline a couple of hours before the lesson, for argument's sake, you can then go into the progress section that I showed you. You can see A, that they've done all the activities, and B, you can see which activities were most difficult. So for example, if you see there's an activity where learners took 5, 6, 7 attempts to get 80% right, you know they found that difficult. If it took them 2 attempts to get 100% right, you know it's going to be, they're going to find that easy. So you can get all that feedback and then only focus on the particular activities they found difficult. And obviously you would ask your students as well, but you have the statistical data there that will allow you to know that, and you don't have to waste valuable classroom time going through and marking practice tests, which, let's be fair, is very time consuming and also a little boring. You can get the data you need, you can see where the problems are, you can still deal with those. I'm not suggesting you don't, but you don't have to take up the time in just the actual physical marking of the practice tests. So that is there as well. Now, I've seen some hands raised. Today I've been better behaved. I have 5 minutes left. Normally I crash into the 1 hour barrier, and I'm going to stop sharing now. And hopefully that will allow me to come back to you. Yeah, I'm not sharing my screen. I can see the chat. I don't know if any questions have come up. Okay, someone has to leave. Thank you very much for joining us. If you did have any questions come up, sorry, I'm getting a buzz, I'm presuming from my colleagues. So no questions. You're very well behaved. I'm sorry, I don't quite understand that question. It will be sent into the assignments tab, but not the homework there. I'm not quite sure what is being asked there. If your student, let me just explain the whole process of receiving homework as well. When you send an assignment to your students, they have to know to log on to the DigiBooks and then go to the assignments tab. That is where they will find their homework. They're not sent email about it. If your students are using the mobile version of the app on a tablet, the Android or the iPhone version, if they're using that, then they are sent reminders that homework is due. It's a slightly different system. So if they have the mobile version on the tablet or that, a certain reminder will come up. If they're just using the browser-based version, because if the browser's turned off, we don't have access to them, then they just need to log on, and they should be logging on as part of their, their process of doing homework. They should be logging on, and they just go to assignments, and they'll see whatever assignments they've been given, and when they are due, they click them and they do them. So that's where they will find them. Yeah, so that's the whole process of assigning homework. You go to the individual exercises teacher, you go underneath, it says assign, you select the class or classes that you wish to give the homework to, you give them the date, the deadline, assign, and it's gone to them. Okay, I hope that answered the questions. Yes, very good point there as well. Forgive, I should wear my glasses and I haven't got them on my desk. The students need to have a valid DigiBooks code. Yes, they do. Obviously, the students, in order to have access to the content of the DigiBooks, they need to have in their account a valid DigiBooks code as well. Okay, but those normally come with the physical version of the book. Okay, so we normally sell books and DigiBooks together. DigiBook codes are available as well separately if it's impossible for you to use the physical book, but the physical books also come with the DigiBook code. But yes, absolutely right, they have to have a valid code. They have a separate type of assignment. Again, I'm not, let me just give me a second, I'm just trying to check what this gentleman is asking so that I can show I'm going to share my screen again very, very briefly, because I think there's a little bit of confusion somewhere regarding the, I'm going to go back to shared screen, and I want to go to the students, not you, I want to go to you. So give me a second. As I said before, when the student signs on, when they're looking for their homework, it's simply there. That's the tab they go to, and then assignments and homework, they just click on that link there, and it will take them back to the particular activity that they are required to do. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing now, and I shall see you all again. Please, there are also, through the DigiBooks as well, the teacher can also keep track of homework and assignments that are not sent through the DigiBooks. For example, there is a tab where you can keep a record of what you've given for homework, but that is not sent to the student there. Okay, I've got a question coming up. Is it possible for a student to do an exercise in DigiBooks and for the teacher not to see it? No. I still got a good question here. Is it possible for a student to do an exercise on Express DigiBooks and the teacher not see it? No. If the student is a member of the school, not an independent member, they are a student in the school, whatever they do on DigiBooks, when the teacher goes to progress, they will have access to. As long as the student has pressed check. If they haven't pressed check, then no data is sent back. So in that case, theoretically, it's possible if they don't press check. But once they press check, every time they press check, the new data is sent back, okay? And all of these are browser-based, so if they're online, that information is automatically sent back. Okay, guys, I have to draw it to a close because it's 7 o'clock, and you all have lives to lead. Well, for me, it's 7 o'clock. For you guys, you're still at, what is it? 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So you have a whole evening ahead of you. I hope your weather stays much better than our weather is here. No one's going to be doing much this evening without an umbrella. I shall thank you very much for your attention and your time. If anything has come up in the webinar you'd like to talk about more, you can talk to our wonderful friends at Leirilivro. They're great guys. They know everything incredibly well, and they know you guys very well as well. If we can be of any help, you can also, of course, drop us a line, but please talk to the guys at Leirilivro first. Until next time, guys, be very safe, very happy, stay very well, keep your distance, wash your hands, but stay emotionally as close to everybody as you possibly can. You guys take very good care, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye for now.